Are we having an event?
On Zoom now. But not on Zoom anymore. Well, first off.
Oh.
Okay. People follow. Oh my God, follow.
If I was at this
It is a good sign.
it wasn't more.
With the budget.
Oh.
I guess there's been a couple of others too. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, people, it is 7 o'clock. This is the recording, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the Enfield Planning Board, Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. Members present from my left, Linda,
Linda Jones?
Dan Kiley.
David Frack,
Bill Vermeer.
Craig Godhart.
and on Zoom we have Kate, say hello. Kate, can you turn up your volume just a little bit?
Yeah, I have it all the way up, so you may have to turn it up in there.
Rob, can you adjust it here?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay, that might be a little bit better. We have one of our members is missing. Eric Russell had a family commitment tonight. So we will levitate the gentleman behind the camera.
Elevate.
Levitate.
You appreciate it.
Okay. For those in the audience, there's a clipboard to sign in if anybody has not done that. Next, we will take comments from anybody in the public that wishes to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. If you're not here for the hearing on Jake's Car Wash and self-storage, or David and Victoria Rogers Conceptual, now is your time to speak. Okay, seeing no one. I will also introduce our staff people, Whitney Banker, our recording secretary, and Rob Taylor, zoning and land use administrator and development guru. For guests, we have Don Lynn Marston. Don Lynn, can you say hello?
Hello, and I'm here with my wife, Melanie Marston, and my father, Donald Marston, as well.
Okay, and can you tell us, are you Enfield residents?
We are, yes.
Can we see Stephen?
Can we see them?
No.
They don't have to. We also have, is it Gwen Desert?
Dessert.
Desert?
Hello,
Okay, hello.
I'm an Enfield resident.
Okay, and are you here for the Jake's Car Wash or?
Correct. Yep,
Okay,
Jake's Car
great.
Wash.
Okay. Kate, do you have a select board report?
I was trying to pull it up, but select board did meet. It was relatively brief. We've been having some shorter meetings. Sorry, I was on Zoom and I apologize. I'm not there in person, but you don't want me coughing. So we got an update from I'd say the body of the meeting was the update from the town manager's office on the potential building projects, and Ed Morris, our new town manager, took us through a video slideshow of pictures of the deficiencies in each building. And I think there were quite a few ones that I was not aware of that slideshow and the full body of the meeting is available up on YouTube on the Town of Enfield page. So I'd encourage you to all watch it. And other than that, nothing super extensive to report.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Next on the agenda, review and approve the February 23rd minutes.
Anybody need coffee?
Does anybody need time to read them? Does anybody have any comments or corrections?
Just comment. I just like to thank the recording secretary for the completeness.
You always say that.
No, I haven't. You weren't here when I wasn't saying that.
Excuse me, since Whitney has been our recording secretary.
I found a couple little,
Go ahead.
line 50. As future agendas come out, there's no apostrophe. Yep. What do you,
Yeah, right. Exactly.
eraser, that's what you do. And line 136. Town of Franklin as an example, who? It should be which.
Okay,
I just spotted, I had the line number is 17. Julie Eckert is spelled, should be spelled ECKERT. There's no H, basically.
Right. Good catch.
And then in line 32, I believe that the fragment from, it's not a fragment, but carrying over from line 31, I think Dr. Tice asked if the discussion would be included in the minutes. I think that would be a period because it's a restatement of what I asked. But other than that, and those are picky, so sorry.
okay. Would somebody care to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
We have one
Oh, I'm
more
sorry,
thing.
Linda.
I just saw it here, line 202. So 3/4 of the way on, it should be historic buildings in. The S needs to be moved back to buildings.
Buildings in. You don't like buildings in?
Spice the place up a little bit.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Motion made by Dan. Do I hear a second? Second by Phil. In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? Jim, are you going to abstain or were you here for that?
Here.
I'm gonna say, I was here, but I wasn't on the board.
Okay. We will take your abstention then. Next. Enfield land use case number P 220301. MBM Real Estate LLC will seek major site plan review approval for a car wash and self-storage business. Subject property is located at 223 US Route 4, tax map 33, lot 5, and is owned by BMB Real Estate LLC. The parcel is partially within both the CB zoning district and the R1 district. MBM Real Estate LLC was granted variance relief in December 2021 by the Enfield ZBA to operate the self-storage business on the R1 portion of the property. Engineering Ventures PC of Burlington, Vermont and Lebanon, New Hampshire is representing the applicant in this case. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And we have, I think, at least one person who is here for your hearing, so let me just explain a little bit of the procedure so that we're all on the same page. This is a warned public hearing. I will open the hearing. I will give the applicants as much time as they need to present their plans. We will then have the board ask questions to which you are invited to respond. When the board has finished, then we will open it up to questions or comments from members of the public who have an interest. Following that, when everybody has had an opportunity to ask questions and speak their mind, the hearing will be closed and the board will discuss the pros and cons of the proposal. So now that we're all familiar with the rules, the public hearing P220301 is opened. And Bruce, I know you, but I think it would be good if the other gentlemen would introduce themselves. I know you too, but I can't remember your name.
Ryan Bergeron, so I work with him.
Okay,
Working on this.
I'm Nick Fiore with Engineering Ventures.
okay, Nick. Let's go ahead.
All right, so you certainly read into the minutes already, the proposal. And we have the Nick here to go through the details of the proposal. But I think the operation and how it works is pretty well laid out in the brief description in terms of how these two uses utilize the property, how they're used throughout the day, how neither one are used at night, and approximately how many people use the two facilities during the year has also been spelled out. And as far as the next level of detail to be described, I guess I would turn it over to Nick.
Sure, thank you, Bruce. I'll just briefly go through the drawing set, touching on the highlights, just to try to be expeditious and leave plenty of time for questions. So if you all have a copy hopefully in front of you, just the cover page really just highlights this is just a rendering of what the building will look like. Materials may change a little bit, that's still in works, and then just a couple of small inlets to show the existing conditions, the tax map, aerial view, and then where the location is based on a USGS map. And then flipping over to the third page, C 1.1, that's just the existing conditions plan, which shows the existing Brownies Auto Parts store towards the top left corner of the page, Route 4 being on the left edge of the page, and north is to the right. To the right of the Brownies Auto Parts store is where the property opens up, gets quite a bit wider, and is currently largely a grass field. On the western edge of the property, there is a wetland, and so the site design takes that into account, and the town's 50-foot buffer from the wetlands. Just jumping over to the next page, C 2.1 is to the general overview of the site itself. Beginning in at Route 4, we're going to reconfigure the driveway. Currently, there's two access points. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. There's two access points. We're going to consolidate that into one. That is going to require a DOT permit, so with a DOT on that. And then just inside the property is a rain garden, gravel wetland for stormwater treatment. The DOT is going to require that stormwater hitting the culvert that goes under the road, the runoff rate is not higher than what it is right now, and so the site is designed to accommodate that. We've got some parking spaces right up against that, with 4 of which have vacuums. Moving inside into the lot a little bit more is where the 2-bay car wash is. Mechanical on the east side of the building is mechanical space, a little bit of an office space. The 2-bay car wash bay in the middle, and then a car wash bay on the western side as well. So folks are going to drive in from Route 4. loop around to the backside and then drive through towards Route 4 and exit out towards Route 4. There is a connecting driveway to the self-storage area, but that's going to be fenced. That's really for Bruce and his crew. They need to get back and forth between the two, but it's going to be a fenced area. There's not going to be traffic going back and forth between them. So that gets us into then the self-storage area. And again, right at the sort of that connecting area, there's another gravel wetland there for additional stormwater treatment. Then you can see obviously 4 buildings, 20 feet to 24 feet between each building. Each building's 30 feet wide. And then the lengths vary between 140 to 150 feet. He wanted 150 feet for all of them, but because of the wetland setback, we had to jump off 10 feet on a few of them and set them in. And then the driveway for the self-storage units is off Flanders Drive. And again, that'll be gated, open gate when the business is during operating hours, and then closed at night, but keypad access. Or keypad access for people who have storage units in there. Go to the next page, just show some of the grading, and we can, if you have questions about that, we can get into it as we go, but we don't need to describe it all, but that's just laying out some of the detailed grading efforts on that. The next page is the utility plan. Right now, the Brownies building, the sewer goes across lot to Flanders Street. We're going to abandon that and go out to Route 4 and make a new connection there. Between the building and that connection for Route 4 external, there will be a grid oil separator. So stuff coming out of the car washes, we'll settle into that first and then move out. A new water line is going to come into the building as well. And then what you see where the parking spaces are, and then also near the units, the crosshatch areas, those are underground stormwater 4 bays. So the stormwater is going to run into those first, and then the heavy solids will settle out before they go into the gravel wetlands. They're wrapped in fabric, and they keep all like I said, the heavy solids, heavy contaminants outside of the gravel wetlands, so the gravel wetlands can more effectively do their job. Next page is just an erosion control plan showing some soil stabilizations, inlet protections during construction, and just some stockpiling areas. And we can get into more detail with that if we need to. The next one, C2.5, is sort of maybe the more important one in showing some of the landscaping we're proposing. Internal to the site, there's not a whole lot, but what we are doing is along the north side of the properties, installing rows of evergreen trees to act as a screen for the neighbor to the north. And then also at the south end of the site, right near Route 4, there's another row of trees there to act as a screen from between the neighbor to the west, where on both those sites, both those locations, internal to the site where the trees end, there's already screening there. That's why it doesn't have to run the whole length of the property. Then we've got an island in the middle, so we're going to throw a couple of trees in there. And then you see some squiggly lines sort of on the edge of the pavements, and those are just some snow storage areas that we designated around the north and west side of the snow storage units. There is some grading going on there, and the grading doesn't come down right to the pavement edge. It's offset by about 5 feet, so they do have a little bit of room to throw some snow in there. And again, the next page, C3.0 is, again, we can get into it in more detail if you want, but this is just the stormwater plan showing some of the stormwater piping. We've got under drains under the pavement because it is a bit of a wet site, and so those under drains should help take care of that and keep the pavement in a more stable condition throughout the year. And the next page is just the profiles for the storm lines, just making sure that they all work and they're not in conflict with other utilities, and making sure it all works. And then the next few pages after that are the construction details. Again, we can get into those if you have any questions on them. And then moving down, the second to last page is the lighting plan. And so there, we've got on this, we'll start with the storage units. On those, we basically have 3 lights between each of the storage units building. One building will have 3 lights on it to cast the light between those 2 buildings. And then there's some perimeter lighting as well, just to keep the area lit. And then at the car wash site, again, some site lighting along the western edge, and then some lighting on the building itself, just to keep that all lit. And then the numbers are all there in terms of uniformity ratios and but this was, it's designed by who do this, and they know what they're doing. And then the last page is just some elevation views of the building itself. Just so you have an idea of what the building is going to look like. The sign on the front, car wash bays and person doors, just to get into those mechanical spaces in the office space. That's a quick rundown. Now we'll happily take questions.
Questions from board members?
On your US map, you've got the project location in the wrong place.
Oh, look at that. It's on the wrong side of
You
the
got-
Flanders
you
Street.
got Jake's
Yeah.
store
it's-
instead of that.
Yep.
And the other thing is, you've got a beautiful southern exposure there. Wonder if you've given any consideration to put solar panels on those storage units?
Haven't been considered, but
That's,
something we can learn more about though.
we're pushing that a little bit. I'm a big fan of bringing our energy production closer to Enfield and our food production closer to Enfield. You look at the fuel prices, oil's up to what, $115 a barrel today or something like that.
Yeah.
And going up. I mean, if you're not ready to do it right now, if you're doing, while you're doing your construction, just throw some conduit in.
Mhm.
Reach those buildings to a point where you've got 3-phase power.
Right.
And then you can hook it up later on. Pull the string through there, put the panels up, and the conduits would all be in place to make that work. And I have a feeling you've got enough space there. You probably could cover just about all of your electricity bill for the car wash with the panels on there.
Yeah, do they work on a relatively flat, a 1 to 12 pitch? Do you know if they work on?
The sand shed over here is about that, right?
Not much, but 1 to 12? Yeah.
You have a little trouble with the snow in the winter, but you get your big production in summer months.
Mhm.
And the way it works in New Hampshire, if you plug it in behind your meter, and if the sun is shining, you're using more power or less power than what the sun is producing, your meter turns backwards.
Right.
So you'll actually get a bill with a plus and a minus. We got it on this building here, the DPW now. And every month they get a bill, and it's so many kilowatts went forward and so many kilowatts went backwards. And if it went backwards more, you get a credit.
Yep.
And if it goes forward, you get, so that's something to consider. I'm thinking, I think you're okay as far as Liberty Utilities. They won't let us build anything more out in Canaan because that's a tail circuit.
Yeah.
But, as long as you're on this side of the substation, like Jake's, you're good to go. So I would give that some consideration.
Bill, where's the nearest 3-phase power to this location? Do you know?
This building,
No,
No,
to their
I think it's
location.
right there on the.
Yeah, it's gonna be right. Yeah.
Where you're gonna hook up power is, there's probably 3-phase right there.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Cause that's the expensive piece if you got it. It cost me $30,000 to do about 200 feet of 3-phase.
Oh, wow.
That big array I put in there, so. As long as you're gonna put the power in anyway, right? Make accommodations for 3-phase power, and you may not even need 3-phase, depends how many panels you got.
Yeah.
So that would be something I would,
That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah. This does some research.
oh, by the way, you get a 26% tax rate as well.
Bert, did you have some questions?
Yeah, I guess some
Questions, let's start. C1-.1.
Yep.
That page, I believe you got a typo on the easement, C note number 3, it's near Flanders Street. Sort of, I believe it's supposed to be note, C note number 4. The description of C. When you read note 3, it doesn't make any sense.
Where is that?
See it?
My notes over here.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Right above this.
Oh, that guy. Oh.
Small print, isn't it?
Yeah, I got the, if you want to read it off the line, I highlighted what caught my eye.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
You can read 3 and
Yeah.
it's like nothing to do with,
The right away.
yeah,
Okay.
but 4 does reference right of ways and sort of blends together with several.
Yeah.
comments in there.
Okay. Yep.
And then on page C2.1. Okay, yeah, this is the main sort of layout, proposed layouts. A little confused over which on the Flanders Street side for the proper, what is the true property line?
Yeah, our understanding is that it's the one that's closer to the street itself. Yeah, because that's where the pins actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, reading through your notes, it's like the deeds were just unhelpful.
Right.
Okay, and then on the actual plan up where the car wash entrance is going to be. My concern is that during the busy months of the year, you have the potential of cars queuing up, almost getting into Route 4 area, because people are like, well, there's a space, I'm gonna pull in. And then they just sit there. I've been to the one down on Route 4 in Lebanon and watched the cars. I actually sat there sometimes because it was like, well, I'm here, I'm gonna do it. Circling around the storage areas there, so I know the cars can line up. People will sit there and wait.
Yep.
And I don't know how you're gonna prevent a car from trying to get in there. It's just their stupidity. But if you like hashtag the entrance area as like no parking here, like lines on the pavements. So it's like obvious.
Yeah.
Even the sign, people are not gonna see the sign, they're gonna see a space and try to pull in, but if there's the hash lines, like the fire lanes, front of large buildings, type of, do not stop here.
Yeah. Well, you see, like in some of the cities, they have the intersection, entire intersection is all hatched
Yes,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, don't block intersection.
Right,
That's,
just sort of a visual of people like, no, don't stand
Right.
here.
Yeah, and Nick has a program that we did map that out, and I think it was like 18 cars.
It was 18 to 20 cars that'll fit
Before you
within
get
just the dashed single line we have that goes through that driveway on, so on either side, it's about 9 to 10 cars on either side will fit.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
which
it's
is
just-
fairly good.
Yeah, it just,
But it's a good point though.
yeah, I mean, especially someone coming down and they say, oh, I can make it, and they try to get in there and just causes problems for everybody involved.
Yep.
And then on the storage areas, do you have an idea, or are you gonna be marking on the pavements directional, one-way, two-way directionals? I mean, how is that gonna work?
Wasn't planning on it just because it really is such low volume, that, and people kind of do what they kind of want to do.
Yeah.
That they pull in, they'll find their ways, how they want to get to their units. That I just don't think it would be effective, to do it. Like I said, such low volume.
Yeah.
Folks can move around each other and,
Is with the 20-foot spacing, there's room for, assuming the car's not stuck right in the middle.
Right.
Or you can visually see someone's parked there and you just go the other way or?
Yeah,
that type
exactly.
of thing?
Right.
Well, yeah, if someone is parked in front of their unit, there's still room for another car to go by it.
Okay.
They wouldn't have to stop, reverse, and then go around.
Yeah.
It's wide
Yeah.
enough for 2 cars.
Okay.
Right, yeah, 20 feet is wide enough for 2 guys, but you're right, you might have someone who just stops and parks in the middle.
I mean, that's
The
what
next
I would be
person comes in and
doing.
says, oh, no, I'll go around. Yeah,
Or backs their car into the.
or, yeah, exactly, backs right up to it, kind of, yeah, goes 45 degrees across the whole thing,
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and our experience in Lebanon is that, yeah, people kind of figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
They-
Okay. And then my other concern is on your lighting plan. It's, 2 areas. The Route 4 entrance, it's not a real big deal because it is Route 4. There is some spillover, according to your plats here. And it's hard to see where the Route 4 right-of-way lines are, but it is off your property line, so.
Right,
Are you suggesting that we should not be spilling over on Route 4? Is that what
Well, I
you're saying?
believe, I gotta reread the regs to
Okay.
specific, but I'm pretty sure it's ends at the property line.
and, yeah,
so
trunk
need to
is on the property
focus
line.
the light so it doesn't go beyond the property. line.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is the rig.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood.
And the same issue with, let's be plain the street, yeah, at the entrance to the storage areas, you have a.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it is,
yeah.
yeah, there's a
S4,
S4, yeah.
S4 has a lot of spillover, and there are houses on, or potential for houses on the opposite side of Flanders Street, so you do have neighbor butters.
Yeah,
Probably-
that's a good point. I think we can switch out the fixture head there and,
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to work around it.
Yeah.
so.
And the other note about the perimeter lighting that we're just talking about, that'll all be shut off when the business is closed at night at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
a,
the only lighting, there may be a building light on the car wash for safety reasons, and there'll be building lights on the storage units for safety reasons, so, but the perimeter lighting will
Yeah, the
will
perimeter
shut
light's
off
gonna
at
be
7
shut-
or
okay,
8 o'clock at night.
okay. Yeah, that's good. I like that. That was one of the notes that I had on my plans here. So,
Anyone else? Linda, your turn.
Yeah, I see that you have I'm calling it a rain garden. What is it? The retention basin
Yeah,
there.
yep.
Was there anywhere on your plan to have the local transit bus be able to pull off and stop?
It should, well, it'll basically, use the area it's using now. Like, we're not, there's quite a bit of space between the property line and the edge of Route 4 roadway.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard to see on this plan, but on the existing conditions plan, it actually shows at some point that the town bought a piece of that right of way or a piece of what was this property. And so that's why it's fairly wide. So we're not touching that area. So that area will remain
okay.
for the AOT or
There
for,
are just so few places for the bus to stop
Yeah.
on Route 4.
right, yeah, that area. So it'll be just west of, there's also that kind of a hole right by the driveway where the drainage just goes in. It'll be the driveway for this development, that hole, and then the spot for the bus to stop.
Oh, good, I'm glad it will still be available.
Anything else, Linda? Dan?
Just a couple of questions. Are you gonna be able to do what you do in Lebanon with the overflow? Run them through the, if you have to, through the storage?
We certainly have the ability to do
Yeah.
that. We don't know if we'll have a need to do that.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
have the need.
But we do have the
You would
ability
be
to do that.
able to do that,
Mhm.
so you'd be able to queue up better.
Will you have somebody on site that can open that gate and select and direct the traffic?
We would have to schedule someone if necessary, yeah. Yeah, we don't think there'll be a need for someone there 96% of the time, but
Mhm.
we certainly would be able to make that
Yeah.
available or necessary. Yeah, I think when we look in Lebanon, and you guys are certainly familiar with that, we go out around one
Yeah.
storage unit, come back, and in the busiest days, when you count the number of cars that are sitting out there, it's actually not a lot more than 18, so it kind of, by natural selection, it
Right.
seems to kind of peter out, the people's patience kind of peters out after about 15 cars, and so the ability to queue here is.
It's better than it is in Lebanon.
It's even without using
Right.
using that, the natural way off of Route 4,
Right.
it actually, 18 is quite a few cars.
Yeah, because you're double queuing here, where in Lebanon.
In Lebanon, it's mostly
it's
single
almost
file.
Single queue because of the coffee shop.
Yeah. Right.
On that point though, when you went before the ZBA, did they put in the stipulation that that's gonna be a closed gate?
No, the stipulation was that in the R1 zone, which is the buildings, the two buildings furthest north here,
Yeah.
that in that R1 zone, that only storage traffic be using that part of the property.
Okay. Because I know that was discussed, but.
It was, yeah, it was, yeah, you're absolutely right, yeah. And what was important when they made that condition, it was very clear that it was only, that condition only pertained to the R1 part of the property.
Okay.
Dan, anything else?
I'm good.
Kate, anything you'd like to question? You're good? I have a couple. First, I guess it's probably, well, I noted it on C2-1. The way I'm looking at the print, there is no fence on the north side of the storage units. I see where it ends at C13 on the east side, and then it picks up again, C13 on the west side. Is that on purpose?
So I forgot what ended up in this version, but it was intended to be a three-sided fence, 3+ sided fence, whereby the west side of the building, the one up against the hill, would be unfenced. So the other, I don't remember if that's exactly what is depicted here.
No, it's not.
So so I'm glad you brought that up. So the plan is that the fence would go along the whole Flanders frontage. It would go all the way down the north side. It'll go all the way down the east side, all the way to the back of the property. It'll probably return around for some small distance, just to make a corner, and then the back side up against the wooded area would be left open.
I just got confused when I drew it.
Okay, no problem. My other question had to do with the propane tanks. And it's just a clarification, on one sheet, you have one tank drawn with bollards around it, and then an indication for tank 2 with no tank shown. And then on your detail sheet, I can't remember the number, but maybe this
Do we
is
have
it.
it underground tank there?
That's not it. On your sheet that shows you the details on the propane tank and the plumbing for that, there's a note that indicates that there are 3 tanks. So I'm just wondering, was this just like
Yeah, 3 tanks is that's a carryover from something else. It's definitely not
That's what
gonna
I
be 3
thought.
tanks. Yeah, it'd be 1 tank. Yeah, it would just be 1 tank. And yeah, some of the sheets show the tank and some don't, because some of the sheets show the underground utilities and some don't. So that's the difference there.
4.4.
Yeah, 4.4.
Yeah, note number 5 talks about,
Oh, yeah, and that's sort of it's I guess maybe an unfortunate use of a standard detail. It's talking, that note 5 is talking about if you have multiple tanks, the distances between multiple tanks and, so it's a carryover.
This will be a single.
But it'll just be a single tank.
tank, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that clarifies it, that's all.
Yep.
All that I really wanted clarification on. And a follow-up on Kurt's discussion about lighting. You said that there's gonna be security lighting at night in the storage area. Does that mean that all of the wall packs will be on, or will some be motion activated? What's the plan?
That detail, we haven't really discussed. I mean, our experience in Lebanon is that there are 3 fixtures on each side of the building, and they stay on 24/7. Well, they stay on all night long for security purposes. And hadn't thought about using motion sensing lights. I hadn't thought about that. So,
I wasn't suggesting that was something that you ought to do.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
just a
question about whether we were,
a question about how it's gonna work. And I'm assuming that the wall packs will provide enough light for people to load and unload.
Yeah, it's low lighting, but it's enough for someone to do that, yes.
Is there any power within the storage units themselves?
There's no power available inside
Okay.
the storage units, no, there isn't, yep.
That's my questions. Rob?
So, as part of my due diligence, I consult with staff, we do a staff review, which, basically I get in contact with all of our department heads. So I've got some comments from them that I'd just like to share. And we can obviously address them afterwards. Public Works, he had similar concerns as Kurt and David about queuing issues, if there was anything, in terms of volume of customers that brings it out into the street. You're gonna have problems with the state, obviously. So it sounds like you've addressed that. We could certainly use that internal gate, maybe have some spillover. I think you're right, that if people drive up and see that there's a huge line of cars, they're gonna go to the other car wash probably, so that may just take care of itself. But obviously, if we get to a point where there's queuing issues, then we get to address them. Police chief had the same, and that was his singular concern. Public Works also was curious about access for water shutoff. We actually got the other car wash, they've given us a key, and that is if they can't find or get the curb stop to turn, if they can get into the building, turn the water off.
Sure.
Which would benefit all of us because it's a big service in there. I'm sure you have probably a 2-inch.
2-inch, yes.
And so a 2-inch can drain our tank pretty quick if we can't get to it. And so that was one request that Public Works had. They obviously, take it very seriously to guard your key and not let anybody else have it, so to speak. Then Public Works also is requesting a new driveway permit for Flanders. It sounds like it's prudent because you are going to be reconfiguring driveway access from there. You're going to reduce it down to 1 from 2 on
On Route
Flanders.
4.
Oh, well, I'm talking about,
Flanders only has 1 car in.
I thought he had mentioned that you had 2, but he's going
He
to
was
ask.
talking about Route 4.
So he's going to ask for a new driveway permit.
It's a
for
change of use.
Flanders for the change.
On the
of use.
single, yeah, sure.
Just like you'll have to have it from the state. I think you're working on that
On Route
too.
4 side, right.
Yep.
So, and number 2 was the fire chief. He looked it over, had pretty good things to say, most of which, obviously, he's looking at it from the fire safety standpoint. His only request, which I think is fairly standard for you probably in all your locations, is Knox box access for the fire department to be able to get in the buildings. He's also requesting Knox locks, which are on your gates, which allow them to get in and through the gates if there was to be a fire, they can sort of access the property with those 2 technologies. So,
Sure. I mean, one of the gates will be manually locked with a key, a physical lock. That's the one that won't be used very much. The one out by the Flanders would be keypad operated. We could have code for the fire department to use.
fire chief thought that there was like, for your padlocks, they give you like a Knox lock for the padlock too. I don't know.
No, so maybe.
Tell me what a Knox lock is.
So Knox are it's like a little key safe on the building.
Right.
Fire departments all around the country have that key.
Yeah.
It's sort of the standard thing.
Yeah.
So if there's a fire alarm activation or fire, middle of the night, these guys are sleeping in their beds in Lebanon. the fire department can get in and get to the key and actually gain entry to the building without having to force your door open with a battering ram, which saved them a lot of money. Save our fire department time to get in and actually, or keep fire.
Or keep track of.
Exactly. So they
3,000
just have to
keys.
keep one key instead of 500 keys for different businesses and so forth. So it's kind of neat. It's a universal thing. It's a company, I believe, that manufactures.
Yeah,
knobs.
yeah, exactly.
That's why they call them knobs.
That's why I call them Knox boxes, yeah.
And that's pretty much it. I told your police department, it was mostly concerned traffic flow and stuff, but I think we'll just, address that. Town manager's office had no comment, the town office had no comment. Building inspector, he'll be working with you on the actual building permits, and we certainly will be talking to you about some of those things. I know he's one of the big ones on the other car wash was making sure that the propane tanks had good bollards.
Yeah.
Either a Jersey barricade or something that keeps people from actually smashing into your tanks and stuff.
Yep.
There'll be lots of stuff for them. So it surprised me how much systems are involved. It's a lot of systems. Including reverse osmosis. We have reverse osmosis.
Yes, reverse osmosis, yes, we do.
Just to keep your,
To treat the water, so.
keep
it's,
your spot-free.
Spot-free, yeah,
rinse.
keep our spot-free, yeah.
I also found out today that they're gonna resurface Flanders Street in July or August. So that may have some effect on how your driveway goes in.
Anything else?
I live on Flanders and I saw the little orange circles around the sewer drains.
Oh, yeah.
So they're clearly gonna do something with resurfacing that street, which will be nice.
Kurt?
Just, when you mentioned, and I saw it in the notes there, but I just want to bring it up again, on Route 4, the area that the town, in your deed research, saw that the town owns.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the town has no clue about that. Really, based on previous experience of the town acquiring these things over the years.
Right.
And the paperwork just gets filed somewhere.
Yeah.
If you could share that information with Rob, and we may be able to convince the town to have a designated bus stop area there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if the town already owns that land.
Yep.
It's something the town could do, hopefully.
We also have representation of the AT board.
Right.
Public Works Director is on as a board member there.
There you go.
So we can certainly talk to powers that be.
Yep.
Kurt, did you have anything else?
Now, that was something that.
Jim, I skipped over you, I'm sorry.
That's fine, I'm good.
You're levitated. Out of sight. Not yet. I had a question. I saw in the front page, there's an indication for a nice sign on the building itself.
In the rendering, yep.
Will there be any other signage at the?
Yeah, the plan would be to utilize the existing road sign structure that Brownie uses currently, yep. That's right, it hasn't been incorporated here yet.
Right.
Okay, and how about on Flanders Street? Will there be any signage there denoting the entrance?
I don't think so. We probably have to have some information on when you get up to the keypad, maybe, explaining to people, what phone number to call and, all that kind of stuff, but I wasn't envisioning anything large there. But I should revisit that, because that detail is not in the plan either. So we will have to revisit our.
We'll work with you guys on sign permit.
Sign permit, yeah.
Okay. Members of the public, let's,
Steve,
talk
can
with
I
you.
ask a quick question?
Oh, I'm sorry, sure, Kate.
I know you can't see me because I'm behind you. I just had a question about noise, because that was a comment that was made just in terms of hearing a wash from the inside of a vehicle is very loud. So if they have auditory signaling, then I'm wondering what the impact would be on the neighbors, since that is in the middle of residential.
Our plans would be as far as the wash itself. Of course, when the car is entering the wash, one of the doors the entrance door has to be open, so that noise, won't be contained inside the building. But once the car moves inside the building, our preference is to have both doors closed to try and contain, the noise and everything else inside. So we would you know, they're designed where you can also have them open when the weather, when it's above 40 degrees or whatever. But I think our preference would be to have the system close the doors even during the summertime to keep the noise down.
We have a kind of interesting noise ordinance that's a little bit old. I think there's something about standing on a soapbox or hawkers, peddlers. But people do tend to refer to it when they call about later evening activity. So I just figured I'd call that out in case someone mentions it.
Bruce, maybe you could get a spec from the car wash supplier in terms of not to exceed so many dB, X number of feet from the wash bay.
I've never read that.
Something like that,
Yeah.
just so we have a standard, so if there are complaints, either you're meeting the standard or you're not.
Oh, it would be at the property line, so.
Right, it'd be at the property line, and, well, like the one in
And if you're sitting
Lebanon.
on Route, right, if you're sitting
If
on
you're
Route
there-
4,
If you're the second line in car, which means there's one in front of you, the only time you can actually hear anything is the air, and you can just barely hear that. So, I mean, yeah, you do hear it when you first go in because it's doing the sides. I'm sure the trucks coming down Route 4 will make a lot more.
Right,
noise.
exactly.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
They do, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a loud neighborhood with the traffic already. I would
Yeah.
have many years of living there, but I figured I would ask the question in case it came up later than we covered.
Okay,
I do have one other
go
question.
ahead.
Your drawing is really nice looking building, compared to what's typically in town. How close are you gonna be actually building at?
Great question. It's gonna depend on budget. So that's to be determined, but we were trying to architecturally have there be some relationship between that and the store. So we pulled over a few elements from the store as well. But that is our desire. We hope we can afford it.
Okay.
Well, with solar panels, you just might be.
Okay, members of the public, any questions or comments? People on Zoom,
Yeah, there's one hand up.
all right, go ahead. I can't see whose hand it is.
Yeah.
It's Donlin Marston.
Hi,
What?
our house is, it sits right across from the field where the storage units will go. Our concern is the drain, there's a drain pipe directly under the road, and it already drains all the rain and all of the snow melt from that field onto our property, which causes major issues. It kills half our lawn every spring. Our fence is starting to fall down, so we're concerned, especially if you're paving that field, where all of the water is going to go, because right now it drains right onto our yard.
That is a good question, and we did look quite extensively at that. And so, unfortunately, obviously you don't have the plans right in front of you. But we are basically between the Planter Street and the driveways for the storage units, we're deepening that ditch that's there. And that's where two of the gravel wetlands are going. And so those areas will take a vast majority of the water, and it ends up getting routed around the storage units and down towards Route 4. For a very large storm, we are taking advantage of the pipe that's there, but it does not increase the amount of flow that goes across the street. But again, that's only the larger storms.
If you are putting in a new driveway and doing all of that work, is there any way we can divert the water just to go straight down to Route 4, where maybe there's a sewer it could go into, rather than under the road onto our yard? I mean, it's been a problem since we bought the property. You should see the amount of water that we're getting now. So it's making us nervous, especially knowing that it's going to be paved over there. I'm not sure what to do. I've tried making my own little culvert to divert the water down past our yard, but it's just not enough.
Also, on the same idea.
Yep.
Like when we first moved up in here, like say 2014, we didn't have such a problem with that field. Like the water, so the culvert must have been working and must have been draining some off to the road. Now it's just coming right over here and it's really doing some serious damage. Like she said about the fence and yard and everything. So I don't know why it's so much worse these last few years as it was in, say, 2014 and 15, but it definitely is.
Yeah, and that's always hard to say. My guess is that there may be some, road debris that, sand or sand and that flowed into there, so kind of filled up that ditch over the years. And so then basically the invert of the culvert across the street from you is your water's flowing directly into it. There's no storage. There's in that ditch on the other side of the road from you. Our plan is creating storage on that side of the roads. Like I said, only on the very large storms you would see some flow coming across the street, but regular everyday events, you shouldn't see any going across the street.
Yeah, when I talked to the road agent today about resurfacing Flatters, he did say they had to do some culvert work as well because there were culverts that were plugged and there was too much water going down in certain areas. And that probably is part of the problem, is that there's plugged culverts that should have taken some of the excess water in another direction. But the road agent told me they had to do something with the culverts because there was a problem with the water on Flanders Street. So
Yeah, I would echo the direction you're headed in, and that is that the DPW would be the ones to handle water that's passing under the road through a culvert, since that is a town maintained road. So you could either give the DPW a shout, or you could email jtaylor@enfield.nh.us. And I think you'll find that they can help and coordinate, because this is obviously going to be multiple layers of this project and their project that are going to intersect and will affect you. So it makes sense to talk about them up front.
Okay, because we've tried contacting the DPW over the last few years and nothing has been done. And even just the melting snow, it looks like there's a river running through our yard.
I grew up downtown, so I know how wet downtown is.
Yeah.
Have helped manage multiple properties downtown, including some rentals that possibly abut where you are. So I think it's a very wet area, but if you're not getting a response, then why don't you go ahead and write to the town manager, which is townmanager@enfield.nh.us, or you can call the office at 632-5026 and ask to speak to Ed. I think it's very important that we flesh this out, because we don't want to be digging up a project we just did later.
Right. Okay. No, I'll try contacting the town manager in the morning.
Yep, and you're welcome to CC me. I'm KDP Stewart, Stewart, same last section. Since.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from people out on the Zoom link?
Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
There was just a quick mention of, could this go into the sewer? And many of you who go into Lebanon know that Lebanon just dug up half their streets, and that was actually a water and sewer, a runoff and sewer separation project. So we don't put stormwater. The goal is to not put stormwater down into the sewer itself. We're actually trying to keep it separate, and Enfield is going to be working on that in the first phase of our sewer project. So the answer is really that we are going to continue to try to divert water that should be groundwater and be flowing through the right direction on the ground that way, and keep it out of our sewer. Because if we send water to Lebanon in the sewer, that means we have to pay Lebanon, and that hurts. It's very expensive.
Okay, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, just addressing the drainage issue for the abutter, just so she's aware. Our town regs do require that there will be no increase of runoff from a development site. So whatever's going there now can continue, but they cannot add extra water to someone else's property.
Right.
So I'm sure they're well aware of that and done the calculations to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right, right. It's a decrease.
Okay, last chance for any other questions or comments? We'll close the public hearing and the board will deliberate.
Hi, this is Donald Marston again,
Oh, yeah,
the one on Flanders Street.
I'll let you make one final comment.
Okay, so I just was kind of listening to what she said about the culvert and the sewer water. But can't they do like they kind of do like when you have a watering system, like one of those do-all things that, you know, separates the water out from sewer water from the good water, so it wouldn't go to Lebanon? Can't they separate it then?
Yeah, the water that does leave this property down near Route 4 will go into a culvert that goes under Route 4, and then the daylight's on the other side of Route 4, and that's been there for 100 years. But yeah, so the stormwater on that whole part of the property and the neighboring properties as well goes into that culvert right where they pick up the buses and everything else. That goes underneath, that goes under Route 4 and then heads down to the river.
Okay, thank you.
All right, public hearing is closed. Board members, any questions or comments amongst ourselves? Do we like this?
Yep. Motion.
Do we wish to make any conditions?
Well, we have to make the condition that they get the state, driveway permit
A deer
Right.
permit, sure, yeah.
And the town,
and the town.
and
They're gonna make the changes that
Yeah,
Kurt
we'll note it,
has noted.
Yeah, basically I would word it as a condition, the lighting conforms to the town regulations, lighting regulations. Just leave it open like that, because there's a couple of little areas that need to be corrected. So,
Well, it's not a condition, but we certainly would appreciate any effort you made to have it be attractive and fit in with the town. I like the Corvals here.
and I don't know if the board wants to make it a condition that there'll be some form of marking or signage for no queuing spilling onto Route 4.
Sure.
I don't know if it's an appropriate condition, but the mention that Rob made about providing the key for access to the water shut off.
yeah, that certainly is a valid condition that I think it's reasonable for the town to impose.
And then the fire department requests
Yeah.
someone to get in to help.
It wasn't a condition for Randy's, but then he made that key available to us. So I don't know if you guys need to make it as a condition per se. But
We may as well have it in there. I mean, you know.
Well, especially for if there's a water break.
Right.
And the town needs to get in there and shut things off, then yeah, that would affect the town.
And
Yeah.
I think it's a
If you're going
partnership,
to
right?
town,
We're saving everyone money and time and damage.
There's no question, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys, we're gonna do it, so you can certainly add it, that's for sure.
Okay.
But it's to your advantage.
Yes, it is.
No one wants to pay that.
You're gonna pay for the
Can I give you
water.
guys a key to the store? You can go when the alarm goes off at night, you guys can go see why it went off.
Okay, so we've got state and local driveway permit, Knox box on the door, building doors and gates, DPW access for water shut off, lighting to conform to town regs, markings on the pavement and or signage that indicate no queuing on Route 4, and pending, final approval of your signs. When you get that done. Anything else anybody wants to add? Somebody want to make a motion?
I will make that in the form of a motion that we approve.
I'll second that.
What we call it, the Jake's Car Wash and Self-Storage Plan. Do we have a, you want to give me the number?
Here you go.
I got it.
Here you go.
At,
Right here, 223,
okay, location 223 US Route 4
and tax map.
and tax map 5033 Lot 5.
And you may as well include the file
The
number.
P22-0301
Since
file number.
Since there's a lot of paperwork
A lot
associated
of
with this.
paperwork.
And I have the second.
Okay, board members, if you are in favor of approving it with the 6 conditions that have been noted, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Gentlemen, your proposal has been approved.
Thank you very much.
unanimously, and we look forward to washing our cars.
Am I going to be able to pay for it at the pumps?
We could do that, yes, we can do that.
Thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
All right,
all.
thanks for coming.
Thank you, board.
When are you gonna start construction?
Well,
When's it gonna be open?
the destruction first, the plan was to begin this summer
Uh-huh.
and construct through the fall, so
Great.
yeah, we still have some more hurdles to jump through first though, but that was the plan.
All right,
We'll
great.
keep you posted.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. All right, next, Dave and Victoria Rogers, conceptual hearing. Tell us what you guys are about.
Okay, I have, actually, 2 things I want to ask about. So if we can start with the bigger one.
Just to refresh their memory, because we've been in here a couple of times in the last year.
Yes.
Thanks, gentlemen.
So we have 2 different projects here.
Yes.
Okay.
No?
I've seen this before.
Yes.
So for Kate's benefit on Teams, what's the address? It's 4A,
So it's 1443 New Hampshire Route 4A.
1443. Okay, thank you.
And y'all have a chance to look at this. So I gave, last time I was in here, I gave 4.10 acres to my daughter, and they're gonna start construction in May. And then I want to, and I'm of course working on that house I've been working on forever. But I wanted to give about the same size lot to my son. He wants to build a house. And that's, I drew it out with yellow marker, the proposed area. As far as, and what I'm thinking is, on the left side there would be his driveway. That just seems like the easiest place to put it.
We're gonna use it too. So we won't need a permit, yeah.
Right, it'll be a joint driveway.
You mean all the way to the left?
Yeah, where the yellow is, all the way to the left.
Okay.
I probably didn't draw it out very well, but that's probably where the driveway would go. I have found out though that, as far as locating the house and locating the driveway is gonna be more up to the wetlands people and the state of New Hampshire than me, actually. So that's, I'm thinking over there somewhere, but you know, there's just no telling.
And it is a driveway that would just access the two lots, yours and the son's, right?
Yeah, so right now, there's a paved driveway right beside my house. And what I was thinking I could do was basically break that off from 4A, so that's no longer a driveway. Put the driveway over there, and then I would just come in and go left toward my house onto my paved.
It's hard for me to tell what
Yeah, I'm
you're
confused.
meaning
Okay.
like over there.
So,
Maybe you could hold it up for us so we can see where you're pointing.
okay.
Just put it up on the, up here.
I think that's what it is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I'm not sure which, what is the what are existing lines and what are
What was that?
and what are going to be new lines? That's what I'm confused on.
I'm not sure.
Oh, here he goes.
Okay, so I have a house
Put it
right
this
here.
close to this driveway.
Now I can see.
Okay. So my house is right there.
Oh, I thought your house was here.
No,
This is his
Okay.
yeah, so my house is right there, and my driveway is right there.
second or
So,
third.
This
Third driveway.
So.
Second. Does he cut off this lot?
David,
And that one?
David,
And
we
that
got
one's-
overlapping.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
uh-oh, excuse me. Let me just get it out of the room.
She's the one we were trying to explain it to.
we'll wait for her. So I guess I'm probably not explaining it very well. So basically,
Just wait, David. We can wait.
so basically I had 50 acres. I gave 4.10 to my daughter right there. And then where I've drawn it all out in yellow, I want to give that to my son. So that would be his lot. And then my house is right over here with a driveway connecting to 4A.
Yep.
And because I can only have a certain amount of driveways on this property, I want to go ahead and basically disconnect that from 4A. I would come in on that driveway that I'm going to build and turn left into my house, and he would continue on back into his lot with the road.
What's that other driveway to the east of the present one? No,
Here?
other side, Linda.
That's the one that
Here?
Department of Transportation
right
already,
here.
That one.
they already
Yeah,
approved that one.
That is going to this lot here,
To the daughter's
That-
lot.
my daughter's lot.
Okay.
That's the 4 point.
And I had actually thought about, you know, having this come in and go over here, but, you know, there's a real big dip right there, and it would just be too much, I think. So I think I need to try to come in here. And I also thought about trying to come in here, but again, there's a pretty big dip there. You know, it drops down pretty rapidly from 4A. Plus there is, right in that area, there's quite a bit of wetland, so I don't think I could get away with it anyway.
And he's had several contractors come and
So
look.
these
These two lots.
so this is the neighbor's house,
Uh-huh.
and then that's another property that somebody has. They have I think a mobile home there.
Okay.
Of course, it's partially, his land is partially in the R1.
Right, you're partially.
Yeah.
Right, so all
Yeah, and I
those,
think the surveyor labeled it as R3, but it's actually R5. I believe.
In the back.
right, and all the back of the
Yeah,
40
this
something
whole thing
acres
would be, I guess,
will
R5.
stay undeveloped. It's wetlands. Some of it.
So does the frontage work for you guys? I mean, I think that's the key thing that we wanted conceptually for you guys to look at.
Well, the frontage works because this is going right to the road, right?
R1.
That's not where his driveway is gonna be, but that doesn't make any difference. He's got the frontage on the lot.
How much frontage do you need? 75 feet?
75 feet
75.
R1.
Is this 75 feet here, this?
I think I have about 100 feet here.
Okay,
And
then
this
you're
would be
good.
another 30 or so.
Right.
So you got the frontage, even though he's gonna put a driveway there, you still got the frontage.
Yeah.
I think this is the daughter's. And then there's-
Which Which is the, what was 30 feet?
The driveway would probably be about, I would probably give them about 30
What
feet
is
there
our
for his driveway.
new
And then there's another about 100 feet.
regulation when we changed all the things about frontage and access?
90 to 100 feet, I think is right here.
75.
No, in terms of,
It's on
in terms of primary access, or I can't remember what you said about that.
Sorry.
We said it could be on
I'm getting some crosstalk.
Five,
just-
Five or better.
Right, which it is.
But are we saying that the access
He didn't hear you.
and the, frontage have to be contiguous? We didn't say that.
No,
Okay.
no.
Just as some feedback for the video side of this, when there are multiple conversations, it merges them all into one. So I can't tell who's talking or hear multiple sentences.
Did you have?
We will try to do better.
No, that's okay. It's just when people are trying to help each other understand, usually crosstalk happens and you probably wouldn't know it unless you're sitting on the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's an issue or not, but it would be, there's a certain amount of road frontage required for the town zoning. And then the state's gonna say where your driveway can go.
But we've already approved, the state has already approved the driveway for the one section that we took off. And the driveway that we have existing is the one we're gonna use for his property and our property.
Not exactly, no. We're gonna have to get a new approval.
Right, as soon as there's a change in the use, the
Right.
state, either on a state or town road, you may have to get a new permit.
Right, we will have to get a new
Yeah.
approval.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's why we're here. Thank y'all for listening
Yeah.
to us.
So question, does the road frontage have to be contiguous?
No.
No.
And they've got 300 and something feet looking at it. I'm on the GIS map right now. So if it's working properly, they've got something. I know they split off another section, but the total was quite large. I think they'll be able to figure it out.
Kate, it's not that large for this particular lot where the driveway's going.
There's
Yeah, they
only-
haven't updated GIS yet for that, for the
There's-
section they gave to the daughter.
There's only gonna be about 130 feet.
Which meets the 75.
Yeah. Which is more than we need.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, what is the requirement for the R1?
75.
Okay, but you do need 75 continuous.
Contiguous, yes.
Yes, you can't have 10 feet here, 10 feet here, and 10 feet there.
Right.
But
Yes.
then can you put the driveway over here where there's 30?
Yes,
Yes.
because he has 100 someplace. He has 100
Okay.
contiguous. So the
Alright.
other 30, he can put, because it's on the lot, he can put the driveway there. Yeah.
The only possible thing that I could see is that the state would say your new driveway is too close to the driveway that serves, I guess it's your daughter's lot, the one that the 4.10 acre lot.
Yeah, sort of learned that there's no telling what the state is gonna say, so.
She was very nice though, but
Yeah,
yeah.
they're very nice,
I mean,
but.
it's her
yeah,
regulations.
There's a lot of regulations for the driveway, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, that's a yellow flag that you guys need to kind of be aware of and make sure that you are square with the state and have an understanding that they are going to issue a driveway permit for you where you want it to be, or actually get the permit before you come back to us.
Right.
Other than that, it looks like a pretty straightforward subdivision. I don't see,
The only thing I would add, and Dan, as far as you didn't catch this yet, but you would,
I did.
that it's a second subdivision.
Second subdivision within
So
2
it
years.
kicks it up to a major.
Yeah,
It's just a part of our ordinance or our subdivision regs, is that when you're taking one lot and making it into two, that's considered a minor subdivision. But if you come back within, we did this to Keyser, if you remember, it basically raises the fee from 250 to 500. Anything else that it does?
Not really,
Not really.
because we can waive the
can
other
waive-
stuff.
yeah.
We can waive the other stuff. But what that does is that way you can't come in every 6 months and go, I want another 5 acres, I want another 5 acres, I want another 5 acres.
And is it in 3 years or 2? I can't even remember what it was.
I don't either. I believe it's 2, but it might be. I don't have the right in front of me.
In the subdivision. Yeah. It might be in the definitions. I think that's where we caught it last time, because it wasn't plainly obvious. I could find it for it.
Do we find it under
Probably major.
major? No, it's under subdivision.
We can find it and get back to
I'll
them.
find it for you.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Major subdivision, the division of a lot, tract, or parcel into 3 or more lots, sites, tracts, or other division of land. Minor. Minor shall mean the division of a lot, tract, or parcel of land into 2 lot, sites, or other dwelling units, and which requires no new roads, public utilities, or other municipal improvements. A parcel of land which has been subjected to minor subdivision shall not be eligible for further minor subdivision for a period of 5 years
Oh.
from the date of the most recent minor subdivision approval.
Yeah.
Which means you can either let the clock run out, or we would have to classify it as a major and hit you up with
Which
that
just makes
additional
it more
fee.
expensive. Right, yes.
Okay.
But I think that, the board would waive a lot of the requirements for a major subdivision, since it really is pretty minor.
Wouldn't have to do a traffic study.
And I really can't, just,
Right.
I can't subdivide any more than that. I mean, that's about it.
Yeah.
I can do.
Mhm.
I will honestly be coming back.
Yeah.
At some point doing lot line adjustments, because I do eventually want to pretty much give my kids all this land. So I will be probably trying to transfer land a little at a time to them.
Okay, so you have
Yeah.
another,
So I have another one, yes.
another conceptual.
Yes, and this is,
Give us an address for this one so we can give it to Kate.
this is 8 Brown Street.
8 Brown Street, Kate?
Off of May.
It's off of May. Okay.
Is that a town road?
Yeah.
Yes,
Private
Brown
road.
Street is the town road. And Brown Street actually goes all the way to the end where it says 102 feet. It actually goes all the way to the end of that property.
Right.
But it is owned by the individual next door.
That section.
Yeah, that section. So I don't know how all that works. But honestly, we were doing research for my daughter's house, and we went and looked at modular homes, and we thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could put a modular home right there?
Which lot are we talking about?
45, sorry.
And it's vacant now?
So there's a house, the address 8 Brown Street is actually all the way close to 46 and Brown Street in that corner. Lot 40, it's pretty close to lot 46 and Brown Street. It's kind of, the house is kind of in that corner right there.
You can bring the other map.
Is that a brown house?
No, it's white.
White.
Yeah. I was thinking that if we could divide this lot in half, so at what they show is the end of Brown Street, I would probably come back 30 feet or so, or whatever the requirement would be, and put the driveway coming in off Brown Street.
Is that it?
Yeah, can I show you on?
Yeah, yeah, that would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
So my lot kind of comes like this and all the way, it's actually all the way, I think all the way back into the trees. And it comes right up through here, is my lot lines. Brown Street actually ends like right in here somewhere. And this is actually owned by this individual. So what I'm thinking, or what we got thinking was we split, basically it's supposed to be I haven't had a survey yet, it's supposed to be 1.10 acres. So I thought if we could split it, I could put a driveway coming in right here to another lot over here. And we would divide the property just down through here somewhere to make it 2 equal lots.
Is there town water and sewer there?
We would have to put water, yeah, it's town water and sewer, we would have to have, you know.
You just have to connect into it.
Yeah, we'd have to connect to it.
You get by the half an acre.
We'd have to pay for
Yeah,
the meter
so if
and the
you're
utility
half
pole.
acre per lot, that's the minimum requirement at this point.
Okay.
And, yeah, it would work. You know, you'd have to get a driveway permit from the town. But, you know, the main thing here is getting your, getting your lot size. What?
Does he have frontage that he needs?
Does he have frontage issues?
Well, that's my question.
That's a good question.
Doesn't appear that there's at least
How
two
long
hundred.
is this one?
Is that 200?
That's 200 across,
All of that.
across that.
Well, you can't,
Yes,
you can't scale up this map, so.
Yeah,
Right.
it's, I called my, the guy to do the survey, but, he's pretty busy right now, so I haven't actually got him out there. But I believe it's gonna be roughly, 200 feet or so across there.
Well, yeah, except that 102 feet is not,
Right,
you're saying that's not,
Right, that's actually,
not town road.
this, Brown Street does go all the way, but this actually belongs to this individual.
right, so that's
Yeah.
not town road.
So that's
up
not
here,
town road frontage, no.
which it would have to be.
So is there a minimum for a?
Yeah, that would be an issue.
Yeah, it's an issue, because you gotta have 75 feet on a lot.
On any lot in town?
Well,
I don't
well,
know
that's
In the
now.
R1 district, yeah.
Yeah,
for that zone, yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Is it paved up here?
Yes.
Yep.
And
Well-
the town plows it and everything, but it's just not, it just doesn't belong to the town, apparently.
Well, I mean, you're saying that, but your surveyor may find something different.
right,
I've had this survey.
because yeah,
You know, depending on what
Because it's paved
the
all the way,
records
right?
are for this layout when that road was built. I mean, I do not trust the tax maps for any measurements.
right.
Even the ones that are stated on there could be wrong.
Because I doubt the guy put his own drive, put that in there.
He does
Yeah.
also have, multi-family in the R1. He's got enough land. Could he not build a duplex there? Add on to that house with a second,
You can put an accessory.
well, he could do a detached ADU, definitely, I told him that.
Right.
What I'm saying is.
But there's a size limit on that.
800 square
That he
feet.
may find
What I'm
unacceptable.
talking about is a duplex. Duplex is available in the R1. And he's got the acreage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, number one, you need a survey.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we've been trying to get a hold of him.
yeah, you really gotta know who owns that 100 feet.
Right, I wouldn't trust that the
Yeah.
town, that even,
Or I wouldn't trust your neighbor saying he owns it.
right, yeah. I mean, that's definitely,
Well,
The town goes all the way down there and plows it.
Yeah. The
right,
town,
but that doesn't mean that he owned it.
Right.
It could be that's, they historically turned around because that's where there was room. Too, there's always that issue. It could actually be shorter than what you think the
Right,
town owns.
right.
Versus, or it could be more,
more,
and the town never got paid.
Yeah, nobody really seems to know exactly, like, everybody was sort of in, of course, realtors, I mean, they only know what they're told, but,
Yeah.
right,
everybody I've talked to
is pretty unsure exactly.
Right. Everybody knows it happens, but they don't know how it happens.
Everybody pretty much agrees that the town road doesn't go all the way, but nobody
Right.
really knows just how far it
Mhm.
goes.
Right.
And it's probably
Yeah.
very possible when those houses were being built, somebody went to the town and says, will the town take over this section of the road?
Right.
Right.
And the town select board said yes. But the distance, without the records, right now is an unknown.
Because I'm looking at the deed that you got, and I'm not saying the deed is right. Again, goes back to the surveyor, right? But if it's 140 feet on the deed, then you don't have enough to divide into two anyways. Just throwing that.
Yeah, the deed's not overly impressive.
No, it's definitely not. I'm not a lawyer, or a surveyor, but yeah, it's basic. So.
He could turn it into a duplex though, because he's got enough land. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you wanted to make it a two-family house, you could do that, because it's, in the R1, land and buildings may be erected for the following purpose: one family, two family, and multifamily dwellings. And then there's the minimum lot size shall be 1 acre except for dwellings, in which minimum lot size shall be 1 acre per dwelling unit.
Right.
And then it carves out the little thing about maybe 1/2 acre lot size per dwelling where municipal water and sewer are used.
Right.
So you could convert your house into a two-family house there using the acreage. Basically, you have the acreage available to make it into a two-family house, a duplex, without the 800 square feet limitation. It could be could be a second unit on your house. You could make it into a pretty good size, 2,500 square foot or whatever. I don't know, whatever the lot would support. So that's something to think about too.
Yeah, I really gotta wait, to do anything. I was just kind of seeing if it was possible, but the appraisal is gonna tell me a lot, because I mean, what I'm measuring off this and what they sold me, to me, seems to be two different things now. So I don't know. We'll see.
So we could tear that down and build.
Right.
Or build onto.
Or build onto
Or
it.
build onto it.
Well, it actually really needs to be knocked down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in it now.
Right.
He fixed the plumbing and all that, but
You could build a two-unit modular.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, or you could put an 800 square foot modular there and have it as an ADU.
Right. That accessory dwelling.
I mean, that would be the easiest way.
That's the easiest.
Yeah, but he's saying the existing building is not
Right.
worth saving,
Right.
so
Yes.
if you're gonna throw money into it,
Then you might as well
why
put a
not
new
start from
Certainly,
scratch?
the
Right.
demand is there for the housing. That's what I would tell you.
Right.
There's certainly demand for housing in this area.
I guess one.
Apartments and duplex units.
Oh yeah.
Or you're gonna rent them.
Yeah. Yeah, I could. Yeah, the rent is crazy. So, the other question I would have, would I be able to get permits and everything to build another house on this property, knowing that this other house is gonna be torn down? In other words, can I live in this while I build another one and then go ahead and tear it down?
Because the two houses or the duplex is available to them. I think that we would certainly allow that, wouldn't we? I mean,
That's a building inspector.
Yeah, that's a building inspector.
Yeah.
I mean, are you gonna be living in the house while you're building the new house?
Yes.
Okay, then you can't condemn it in order to tear it down.
Don't you have to disconnect mechanical to start construction on the new at some point or another? There's some requirements. You
Yeah.
can't just build a second house on a lot while you're living in one if it's non-conforming. I don't think.
sure, this has come up before. I'm sure Jim.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Gardner Lane would be a good example.
Yeah.
There was a house on Gardner Lane to the left that was green, and they built behind it, but I believe they were required to disconnect.
They tore it down first.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course, it's your neighbors.
My lot line.
Well, we would let him for 3 weeks live in a camper. But that's assuming you could tear down the existing place in three weeks.
Right.
Then it
Well,
goes to a
if-
vacant lot.
If you're
Right.
doing a modular though, you could probably get the old place torn down, bring in the modular and have that up in a 3-week time or,
You could
you
bring
know,
the
pretty
modular
close
in.
to it.
We toured their facility. They're very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you could,
Is that the one down in Claremont?
Yes.
yeah.
I've seen some of their work
They're very
and it
impressive.
is really first class.
Yes.
As long as you don't connect it up, it's probably not considered a residence.
Right. You wouldn't get your certificate to occupy until the other house got tore down, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
See, that would be perfect.
But as soon as you
Yeah.
start tearing it down, then, or as soon as you disconnect,
Then you connect the other one up and
then you can connect the other one up
And move in.
and
Yeah.
move in.
So that would be perfect. If I could disconnect from one, move out,
Yeah.
move into the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you call the office tomorrow or drop by, we'll
Yeah.
talk to you, like with the building inspector and public works.
Okay.
We'll go through that, see how that's been handled. I'm sure it's come up before. So
Yeah.
we can certainly run procedure.
Okay.
How that would work.
All right, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice to
All
see
right.
you guys again.
good luck trying to survey.
Good luck.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You want those?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Done with conceptual. Update on master planning task force. I'll wait just a second till I get this stuff down and it's quiet down here so Kate can hear what's going on. Okay, so this week, the master planning task force is conducting 4 focus groups. And they're lasting about an hour and a half to 2 hours each. Each focus group is focused on a chapter of the master plan for which we have received first drafts on all chapters, including vision. I have attended 2 of them, and I've got to say, we've got some really good feedback, most of it positive. I think in terms of, did we hit all the right stuff? The answer is unanimously yes. Most of the concerns from members of the focus groups have had to do with wording and the meaning ascribed to certain words. So we're trying to parse that out. Rob, can you shed anything on the one that you went to last night?
Yeah, so last night was transportation. We had a nice group. It was down at Whitney Hall. I thought we had a nice conversation. Tim Jennings lent a very good perspective as former public works guy with some serious history in town. You know, he's been in town 30 plus years, I think. So that was kind of a neat perspective, especially when it came to sidewalks and some of those projects that have happened. He was in charge when we added this Main Street sidewalk down to the basically down to the lake, and you know, talked about the challenges. Anytime you want to add sidewalks, it's a real bear to wrestle because of the easements, and they couldn't get Liberty Utilities to move poles that were in the middle of the sidewalk, and so that was good. We talked about biking and obviously limitations of our roads currently as they stand for multimodal transportation, kind of unsafe. And Lindsay was there, and Lindsay was talking about how she's been run over on her bike. So that was kind of an interesting perspective. But yeah, no, it was good. And I like that. I really like that format where you get a small group in intimate setting. People get comfortable and really sort of share their opinions, and I think it becomes fairly productive. And they liked at least the rough draft that Brandy was there too, and she had presented, and we had a few edits for her. One of the ones I pointed out to her was the covered bridge was Lebanon's covered bridge. We don't have any covered bridges, unfortunately, in Enfield, which is I would love to build one. So we're gonna change a few of the pictures, and, just pecking away at it. I think there's some edits, some typos, and things like that. But
So the group will be going over the feedback from the focus groups at our meeting next Monday. And then Brandy will incorporate those changes. And we should have something to bring before the planning board during the month of April. I don't want to promise that say we'll have it for the first meeting, but knock on wood, we will. After this group gets a chance to look at it, we will shop it around to the select board. And then the hope is late April or sometime in May, we will have yet another public gathering where we invite as many people as we can to come and look at the plan, make comments, suggestions, tell us what we didn't get right, tell us what we did get right. And then we go through, another round of edits. Hopefully we'll be there. If the changes are significant, we'll circle it back to the planning board, to the select board, possibly another public meeting. And then once the task force is done with it, it winds up on our desk. We hold public hearings, take whatever input the public wants to give us, and then we either approve it or reject it. And hopefully by the time it gets to us, everybody in town who wants to say anything about it will have had their say, and we realize that we're not going to make everybody 100% happy, but we seem to be on track of making a large segment of town very happy with what we're doing. And then after that, we'll probably take a month or two off, because we've been at it since, well, probably 15 months now. And then we will go on to the next 3 or 4 chapters, which should be a little bit easier to write because they will be energy, heritage, recreation, and possibly will include town facilities. And those groups or those topics all have committees that have been actively working for some period of time. They know where they're going. And I think, we'll be meeting with those committees, taking input from them, and basically just tweaking it. So I think we're well on our way to a town plan. So any questions on town plan?
I have one, David.
Go ahead, Kate.
And it's a piece of feedback and also a question. So I was not able to go in person because I couldn't be coughing on people on Monday. So I found it really difficult to read the chapters with the number of grammatical challenges they had. And I'm just hoping that before we put data out to the public again, that maybe we could run it through a word processor, because there were definitely sentence fragments and things like that. And I think it has a little to do with the fact that my head feels like it's in a vice, and a little bit to do with the fact that English and proper grammar are important. So I guess that would be my piece of feedback. Are we going to give that kind of feedback to the person doing this, since they've kind of gone through the content portion before we recirculate it?
I don't think a decision has been made on that. It certainly sounds like a wise thing to do is give it back to Brandy. I know you said you were gonna make some comments. Were your comments going to include just highlighting those grammatical and
You know,
spelling errors?
I started to, but I don't think it's a
No,
good
it's
use
not
of.
your job.
Right, exactly. I think we're paying a professional, and so I think they should be asked in the first instance to do the basic, right? And then if we have things that are finessing pieces, yes, of course. And I started to, just for my own sake, so I could get my brain on track. I have a sinus infection and ear infection, so I'm not as bright as I'd like to be. But I think it would be really helpful if they would do that initial part, especially if they're going to be making some substance changes beforehand, and then run it through the word processor before we go back for another round.
It sounds like a reasonable request.
Yeah, I think the other piece, I noticed, and this is just me, because we've been talking in meetings about the themes that are supposed to be carrying across the different chapters, and I haven't seen multiple chapters yet. It would be helpful to me to understand, like, an individual chapter, if we had a highlight of the themes that are supposed to be touching, so we could see if we're actually hitting them and not just having silos of information. I don't know if you have those themes kind of documented and listed somewhere.
I'm not sure if they're actually down on paper or not. I know they're sort of in people's heads. I'll see what we can do.
Because in terms of content, now would be the time to make sure we had them properly interwoven, so we'd have to go try to cram them in later.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on master plan? Okay. Item that did not get on the agenda, but I wanted to address under old business. I just wanted to circle back on the alternative village plan issue. As all of you probably know, all of the zoning amendments that we proposed were passed. Most of them had a pretty significant majority, but the alternative village plan was pretty much 50-50. I think it passed by 20 votes out of 400 and some odd. That leads me to think that, going down the road, we may have an issue with the town or with people in the town. And I wanted to bring the board up to speed in terms of what I had found out about this ordinance, a little bit about how it came to be. So what I have found is that the town adopted the section of the RSA word for word verbatim as its ordinance. Now, that's fine, except for the fact that the state RSA is not a model ordinance. It is the enabling ordinance. It's the state statute that gives the town the right to make an ordinance for different sorts of alternative land conserving development schemes. And there's 14 of them. Enfield, up until town meeting day, had 3 of them incorporated into its zoning ordinances: village plan alternative, cluster development, and impact fees. Now, the part of the state statute that was not quoted and incorporated into the town ordinance is the part that says it shall contain specific standards by which the ordinance can be administered, or words to that effect. So without any of those specific standards, I think that we have or had an unenforceable and unmanageable ordinance. So I'm glad that we got rid of it. But I think it would be a good idea if the board reached out to Dr. Theis, Tim Jennings, and I'm having a mental block on Paul Mursky. Even though he's not currently a town resident, and just kind of explain that history to those three people. And I have drafted a letter to them, which is on the screen. And I'm sorry you guys don't have copies, but
Just as an FYI, I emailed it to you, Kate.
You can email it to the rest of us too.
Yeah, I just emailed it to her just now.
Oh,
You have the advantage of being able to see it. She doesn't.
Yeah.
That's why I can't
Oh,
read it from you, though.
also, as part of my research, I found a chapter in a book or pamphlet, probably more than a pamphlet, put out by state DES having to do with the alternative village plan.
We
And
got that.
you guys should have got that.
Yeah, we did get that.
And I thought that was a really good document in that it tells you what a village plan alternative should be used for. It proposes some standards, model ordinance, that kind of stuff. So having read that, I think that, we should take another look at the village plan alternative when we rewrite the zoning ordinance after the master plan. But in the meantime, to kind of quell any public issues, I thought it would be a good idea to send a letter from the planning board. And that's what it says. Hope everybody can read it. If not, I will read it out loud. And we can certainly wordsmith it here this evening if anybody has any suggestions. I've kind of reached my wordsmithing max on this.
could we have the next paragraph?
You're going too fast, I can't read that fast. But impact fees, do we have, I didn't think we had impact fees anymore.
It's in the current zoning regs, as far as I know. It's in my book. I saw it there this morning.
We just don't,
We don't use,
we don't enforce.
I think it's available for major developments.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is everyone ready for another paragraph?
So I'm not committing to a village plan alternative, but, we can certainly consider it. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Probably, very good.
Okay,
Let those three guys.
I have
Kurt?
some edits. I'm gonna send them back over. They're not major.
I just would not use the term village plan alternative, being that the town just voted to get rid of it. And if you use that title, even if it's completely different wording and language, it's gonna confuse people. I would just rewrite. What I would recommend is that we write up a cluster development ordinance that incorporates what we want for cluster development, type of open space cluster development. Try to get it approved in the one that's on the books currently, deleted. So there's only one.
Well,
But don't use the term village plan alternative, because, one, it's gonna be, well, this ERSA says this, and what we're writing is something different.
well, I think for the purposes of this letter, we have to use village plan alternative
for this letter,
because that's what's
That's what it is.
referred to in the statute, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, in this letter, yes. I'm saying in terms-
And when it comes to any future discussion, anything's up for grabs as far as I can see. We can call it a village plan alternative if in fact it fits within the definition, and I find it very, very hard to believe that Enfield has enough land to implement what the pamphlet that I handed out or emailed out considers to be a village plan alternative, because we're talking about mixed use, residential and commercial. And I don't see where there's enough contiguous developable land to have a residential base that could support even a tiny general store or other commercial venture. But again, that's something that I think is down the road and could be discussed at some point in the future.
Yeah.
I think it's the difference between being aspirational, which is what everyone was talking about when they were all excited about the village plan. There's aspirational and there's what's actually in the document. And I've read the DES document before going to the Conservation Commission meeting to sit next to you, Dave. And it is a great document, the DES one. But I completely agree with you. There's a difference between being aspirational and being a nice idea and being able to actually fit it on land that exists in Enfield, because they're not making more land.
Yeah. Maybe we should have some sort of a motion or a resolution that this letter be sent.
I just sent edits over to Rob.
And Rob has stepped out of the room for a moment. I don't know if he's gone to receive.
I can read them to you though real quick.
No, I could make a motion that we send this letter with the amendments that Kate has said.
I'd like to see the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
And so would I.
Right,
yeah, I think so.
We don't have to send this tonight, so. Yeah. I'd rather wait until the next meeting.
Well, Rob, can you get her edits on the screen?
And this really is a courtesy letter also.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
And we're already, a month past town meeting.
yeah.
So-
Rob, I have this, I put it in edit mode. So if you if you go to review and pick all markup, it should show.
Show comments, all markup. There you go.
All markup. Yeah.
So I want to start at the top. I want to make sure we spell Jerry Tice's name correctly.
Think of mine.
I was guessing.
No, that's fine. It's the name of a metal company, so I'm used to writing it out. So I don't know what this concerning removal one did on its own. That one wasn't a problem. Oh, there was a space in between it. I think there were a couple extra spaces.
Show markup.
It's not automatically. Can you? No, it's not in edit mode.
Balloons, try show balloons.
Oh, they're.
Yeah. It's not doing anything.
We're not seeing anything, Kate.
Did you open it from my email, Rob?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Okay, I see
Oh, ordinance.
ordinance is misspelled, and yeah, there's some extras.
It's Dr. Tice, is that spelled right?
EIS.
Some extra space. Showing my changes.
Ordinance.
Where's Kate's changes?
That's why I'm wondering why you're not seeing them, because if you were in edit, so if you go to review and all markup,
Yep, that's where we
That's
went.
where we are.
it's really interesting.
Well, you want to just, after the corrections, just send us the letter as corrected, and the next meeting, we vote to send it, so.
Why don't we get Kate's edits, we'll incorporate them, circulate it to the board. If anybody has any objections, we'll wait until our next meeting. But if everybody's happy with it, I'd just as soon send it sooner than later. Does that sound?
Yeah,
like
we can
the way
just
it-
contact Rob saying, yeah, well,
Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like a chance to see the edits and not have a moving target I'm trying to
Right.
read.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
My only question, I just wrote my own personal confusion. When you're talking about we only adopted the enabling legislation versus the RSA as written.
well, those are the same things. The RSA as written is the enabling legislation.
But I guess I'm confused as to why that wouldn't be enforceable.
Because there's nothing in it to enforce.
Right.
There are no standards by which, Rob, can you scroll down a bit so I can quote it?
Oh, sorry.
What it comes down to is
There are
the,
no rules and regulations.
Yeah, but it
exactly,
was
you
like,
have to
no,
have
this
rules
is,
and
Yeah.
regs.
And the statute in section 2 or whatever clearly says any ordinance has to have standards by which it can be administered. And because the only thing that was quoted was the descriptive part of alternative village plan, it told us what we didn't have to abide by, like setbacks, lot sizes, and that kind of stuff. But the legislature leaves making those decisions up to each individual town, and we never made any decisions. So therefore, we don't have an ordinance that has standards.
well, I guess it's, I was interpreting it as standards that we would prefer versus the standards that were in the RSA.
Well, the RSA does not contain standards, that's the
No,
point.
it was 20% building area, and no setbacks, and a few other things that were in there. Those were the standards. That was it. That was all. That
No,
was
but
I
no
think you're saying the same
setbacks
thing.
is not a standard. It just said you didn't have to observe the setbacks for the district.
Yeah,
We're having a circular conversation
Yeah.
when it's about the letter.
Yeah,
Well, I just,
We
I'm
can
just-
do that 3 months
It's
down the
9
road.
o'clock.
it's after 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right, so can we have a motion that tells us how we're gonna proceed on this? And then we'll get a motion to
I
adjourn.
think everything got filled in.
I'd like to make a motion that the letter be amended as required and then presented to the board for approval.
I'd second that.
And approval will come when? At the next meeting?
Well, we can
Or if nobody has objections, it will,
Well, if we all say I approve, then
Well, we
if
can,
we all did it tomorrow, you could do it tomorrow.
Right,
but we can
Okay.
just contact Rob and say if he, once he gets a quorum of
right.
Yeah.
approval, he can send it.
That's good.
Just leave it at that.
okay.
Yeah, leave it at that.
Anybody want to second that?
Already seconded.
Okay, all in favor of Kurt's motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nobody opposed, no abstentions, motion is passed. Looking for an adjournment motion.
No, I need a quick one.
Okay, go ahead.
I need to be, if it's all right with you, I'd like to be reappointed to CIP for another year.
The CIP?
Yeah.
As opposed to
Planning
this?
board, no, planning board has to have a rep on CIP.
Oh,
I'd make a motion, we appoint Dan to be the CIP rep for planning board.
I will second that. Is there any discussion? All in favor of appointing Dan as the planning board rep to the CIP, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I hear no opposed, abstentions. Dan, congratulations.
Yeah, it'll be my last year.
You are appointed. Now, will somebody make?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second. Motion made and seconded to adjourn at 9:04. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 9:04.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
I want to mention something to you.
Sure.
After I get a breath of air, real air. When we were talking, when Meredith was talking about certified local government.
Yep.
You asked a question about, so if we get to be
Certified, we can get grants throughout town.
right, afterward, I was thinking, I wonder if he thought that if you had a grant over here for this particular building, it meant you could take that money and spend it on.
No.
I meant, could I get a grant for Whitney Hall, even though that's,
Yes.
because we are a
Now
certified.
that I'm involved with, a lot more with grants with this Mascoma Valley Preservation
Right.
Group, I'm finding not only, I mean, whoever's giving you the money wants to know who spent it, they want to see the back of the canceled check.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
They want
Oh, yeah.
pictures of the work that
I will
got
tell
done
you.
and an
Truck
inspector.
four, I will tell you, the worst thing in the world, federal grant.
There's a lot of strings that come attached with them.
So that's a little, there are grants that you will pay more
He's
for
got
an
his
auditor than
Mhm.
you got
loader
the grant.
schedule for replacement.
So that's why you really have to watch getting grants.
You have to be aware of what the strings
Oh,
are.
yeah.
And at this point, that Heritage Committee is really early in their process.
Just stuff, it's.
And they still have to do a lot more
Also have-
research.
Capital reserve, which is money that we
Some
put
of it
aside.
was done a couple of years ago, but a lot was
Somebody else
going
manage
on,
that?
and Meredith
committee
became
manage that?
selectman.
Yeah,
Didn't
selectmen,
really
budget
realize
committee.
that we needed
But it's sort of like, instead of buying,
regulations.
once every 10 years,
And
spending $1
in
million
reading
on
the
something,
regs for other towns,
you're putting
you
$100,000
know,
away a
it's,
year.
it's just like
So
the
it sort of
planning
evens it
board.
out instead of having these
That,
blips.
that you bring it in by
Just have a
this
nice
date,
even
you'll have a decision
set
on
aside.
this
Yep.
date,
And if your
30
capital
days to
reserves are
contest
well
it.
structured,
I mean,
they just.
that all needs to be in place. And the
Yeah.
reason
We
is
did it in
that
Plainfield.
they're going to give away money. They want to
It
give
was,
it
it
away.
was
to
largely
people
responsive,
who
they
are
had a
gonna
huge
make
fire.
good use of
Building
it by their
like this,
definition.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That was all of our
And if
highway
you don't meet the
department.
definition, they pay a hard match.
I haven't had that happen yet, but I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
So setting up the capital reserve is a good idea. You're gonna start setting aside any money all the time for all your stuff. Then you don't sort of get caught. Right.
Kurt, step over to my office. Pull up a chair.
Well, it's funny that you didn't say that. I have already told him, and I've given him.
I will be here for the next one.
I
I
know,
will
I'll
not
tell
be
you
at
how
the
last
last
meeting,
meeting in
April,
April.
tell him about you.
Or the first meeting in May.
We've got, cause we've got a couple.
I'm down on the road 2 6 weeks.
Yeah.
How far on the road are you going?
New Mexico.
He's got, not only does he
So
have
I will
a
be
huge
here.
electric use.
I
Good.
still-
Mexican border.
Yeah.
It'll be like Mexican.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think of the electricity
Yeah.
he's using down
My
there.
boy,
I bet
the
his-
Mexican
I
boy.
bet his, electric bill is $2,000 or $3,000 a month.
Yeah, see, I got pictures on.
Yeah.
My
Okay,
wife needs a housekeeper.
what's that?
My wife needs a housekeeper. We're going to the Mexican boy.
Almost walk-in coolers.
Need one back.
Although I would say with newer refrigeration is
Right.
probably
Right.
doing more efficient.
Yeah.
Okay, what you got, Chris?
6 o'clock.
Okay,
Get her on date.
Yeah.
6
Full
o'clock.
forethought, you gotta make it super easy. I like your ideas. Absolutely. I think it was good for him to hear because I had, and he told me he was gonna call me back, because I called him and I said, hey, we should really look at solar. I said, we're doing it on.
Sure, I mean,
Down
there's little
buildings.
ponds on there, but
I saw a
the
thing
wells
on
may
social
go
media
back
the
up
other
in
day.
there, and I just not aware
It
of
was,
it.
Elon Musk said,
Sure about
we can
it.
actually cover the entire United States with 250 square kilometers of solar panels.
It's too hard to
Just
separate.
cut off a little piece of Utah, power the
Yeah.
whole country.
All the maps.
Right.
Although, another argument is that we are actually really well suited for solar because of our
Just a few
climate.
other names.
It's cooler here. You get out in the south where it's wicked hot,
Somewhere over here.
solar sort of loses its efficiency.
My solar panels is the most.
You got 4A,
Yeah.
4 up there.
The shoulder,
It would be good
This whole
to have it.
Right, this
have
whole
it further
stretch,
out.
because
Yeah.
it's so long, so
Yeah,
stretch.
absolutely.
Oh,
And then.
have you seen what Charlie's putting on the
Mhm.
bulletin board out here?
Zero.
Zero solar.
Yeah.
So he's putting up the reports as to what we're generating. He's working on the snow thing too. He wants to engineer away
Same
the
thing,
snow.
it's just,
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden,
it's hard.
we'll see
It's
this
really hard
power,
to-
and then it just goes nothing.
uh,
Covered with
separate
snow,
map.
shuts them right off.
Just needs to be told.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, you get this
Yeah.
big thing, and there's a little square here, and
Recycle.
it's useless.
Yeah.
Maybe
We'll
an
put it in the
inset,
file. Yep.
Something.
like, the photo, probably on the whole page for it.
So I thought, it was good that you said that. Yeah, I think it's,
I think it should be its
more
own
people
page.
would say
It's
it.
developed, the village
Maybe
area
we
developed.
finance it in, if
This is
I
where
finance
current
construction
sewer is.
too, I mean.
All right.
Because that's the time.
Because that was one of my questions too.
I always tried putting it on my house when I
Are
built
you gonna
it.
extend one sewer?
Yeah,
Where does it go?
But
To extend it, you have to connect to it.
right,
So
I'm
we
gonna
have
put it on
to,
my house.
yeah.
so I would just have its own little map.
I'm not paying
Doesn't
any
have-
taxes
you know,
this year.
Yeah, doesn't have to be this big, but
Got the 26% tax
it's just
credit,
its own separate map.
plus you get full depreciation of the $180,000 in the first year.
Fill this out,
That's all deducted.
this this percentage is
I gotta
actually
be able to
great.
use this. I gotta spread it
Mhm.
over.
Yeah.
Unless
I
you're
like
familiar with
Donald
all
Trump.
this stuff.
Yeah.
Taxes.
You would have.
That's awesome. I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah. My wife and I just split up. She
Uh,
bought a
so
house
is
in
this-
Lebanon, I
Yeah.
bought the house in Marion,
Area,
Right,
and I'm resolved, as soon as the divorce is final, I'm
saying
putting
3%
solar on
here,
mine.
then
She's
Yeah.
never really into
what's
it.
going on?
yeah.
I'm looking at it like,
Everything.
we got money in the
Spell it out.
bank.
Mhm.
Retired.
You're hoping
Yeah.
people that aren't versed in.
What other
this stuff
investments
Will
will
actually
actually
read it,
pay in
yes.
every month like this?
Right, and you get your money back in 10 years. And
Exactly.
the system's a warranty for 20.
And it saves you all the money on
And so you got
electricity.
10 years of, and look at your electricity, where it's gonna go.
I built my house, I have a 2-story colonial.
This confused
I
me
built
at
mine
first.
Back in
Commercial,
07.
industrial,
I put
recreational.
my front door
Different,
due south.
but unless it's
So I've got
meaning,
a, I've
unless
got a
it's
10-12 roof pitch.
Yep.
It's
If you ask the
perfect for that.
question,
In fact, I had them come to it. They did a free
Recreation
consult
that you
during
pay
the
for.
solarized
Real
River Valley.
Yeah.
Remember that? It was a program through Vital Communities.
Then there's
And they
commercial
gave my roof a
recreation.
score of 97 for solar. So,
I don't know
That's
what
good.
the intent
pretty
is,
dang
I'm
good.
assuming.
you know, they came out, they had this cool little
Three things together,
glass globe, and they take a picture
so
and they
you
put it
wouldn't
in.
have a lot of
the
little teeny
Yeah.
slices, because it's
computer.
only
I think I could probably
7%.
get 100 if I could cut one tree or something over here or there.
Common
Maybe just a
land,
little bit of
it's
shade.
hard
Yeah,
to see
It's
that.
not high.
Yeah.
But,
97.
that
let me
should be
ask.
And I got a pretty good amount of
Right here.
electricity on my bill too, which I think means I can build a big system on my roof.
That on.
See you later.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's just my wording.
Yeah, I used to be able to,
Same thing here, but
I
then,
didn't have any.
you see, that's the problem then, over here, it has recreation.
That garage apartment up. That's all electric heat, that's all heat pumps.
Well, that's what I'd like to do then
And
too.
Put a-
up here is commercial
standard
industrial,
hot water
so
heater in there.
between these,
Yeah.
And that
this
uses
pie
quite a
and
bit.
this
Yeah.
thing,
Especially with mine.
what do you mean?
Need some
My tenant
definition.
who,
Yeah.
Yeah,
utilities
okay.
And then
for that.
seasonal residential, that's.
The guy's
like,
just
we
a
need
lazy person. He's one of these,
I think
leaves
that's
all the
pretty
lights
well
on, leaves all the lights on.
Uh,
I got one of the heat, yeah, he,
And the
burn
colors.
out bulb in the microwave, because he left that on 24/7 as a night light. And so I went up there and
Happy
tried to
seasonal,
fix that.
that.
I guess,
And then I
yeah,
noticed, I said,
but it's,
"How weird."
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't,
Oh
you're
my
right.
God, I mean, it's seasonal
Such an
residential,
power.
can't
His rent's
relate
gonna
if
go up
someone's
next-
zoning it for
next,
season.
Yeah.
That's how I
He's
interpret
been there every 2
meaning.
years in September.
And these are
I
lots.
got a tenant in my apartment, I got an
I
apartment.
mean, Ivy Road, that's, I live in
Yeah,
Ivy
if he
Road.
stays, if he stays another year.
That's
the rent's gonna go up.
multiple
He
lots.
charges 1,500. I got
So
my
it's not making
apartment's
any
at
sense to me.
1,200 all in utilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good catch.
And I'm out in Meriden, so I get,
This should be
my
a
first
separate
rental,
map.
so. Yeah. So far, it's working out great. Yeah, I
And
guess
then
she's a
civic
nurse, so
was
she's
really
out of the house a lot too, Yeah, he's.
This
he's,
is-
works
Tell
on the
me,
town
tell
all
me.
the time. Okay. But he's using a lot more power because he's home all the time. Yeah, he's home all the time. Do you include Wi-Fi? Yeah.
Utilities, civic, I don't know.
She doesn't pay any utilities.
It's
so
all included.
No, he doesn't pay any either, so. I got, first and last
Well, it's
month's
public
rent.
facilities,
Front
that's
too.
civic.
Do you do that? No. You do security?
No,
No.
public
He
facilities
pays
and land.
Yeah, I got
regulars
that.
can
And
be-
there, and there.
He was out of work for like 6 months.
Civic.
Then he
I'm not sure.
wrote a letter to the state of New Hampshire and they
Oh,
sent him
that's
3
for the
months worth
state,
of rent.
that's the.
Civic would
And then
be,
he found another job and,
I don't know
got a
what
check
that
for
is. This looks
$4,500
like
from
the
state of New Hampshire.
McConnell well area,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
just like that, boom, just send him an email saying, I demand this rent, and then boom, they sent me a check. Oh my God, wow. The guy drives a 2021 Mustang.
No, that's on the opposite side of the river.
You know, was he
It's
behind on this?
Conwell is between the rail trail and the river.
He just got
I
subsidized.
have no idea what.
You just read about
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Put in his
so,
application,
He's
state of New
gotta
Hampshire sent
go
it
back and
Wow.
yeah.
That must have been handy though to get it all at once like that,
And
right?
then.
Crazy.
correct and define.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll catch you later.
See you later. Developable lands?
I don't know, let me,
Yeah,
um,
like I said, I can email you with the page